You're listening to The Podcast. For grain merchandisers, by grain merchandisers. Join us in our good-humored attempt to serve as a voice of reason in an industry fraught with misconceptions and half-truths. And now, from deep in America's heartland, this is The Elevator's Cut.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Elevator's Cut. I am one of your hosts, Roger Gaddis.
And I am your other host, Jason Wheeler. And today we have a special guest, friend of the show, back on the show, first time in video format. Susan, we thank you for coming all the way over to this other side of Missouri. Well, that's actually Kansas. It's so Missouri, it's Kansas over here. And anyways, we got Susan back. You have helped us so much in the past as we try to decipher many things on the internet. We have lovingly referred to our text conversation as the GMD editorial board, I think.
Yeah.
So GMD is grain market discussion. I like just...
But is it really?
I like rambling this on, and she can't say anything yet. This is great. Susan, welcome to the show. We're glad you're here.
I hope the camera wasn't on my face right then.
Yeah.
Because the ironic thing about our text group being called GMD discussion is that I was kicked out of there a few years ago.
Out of GMD, not our text group.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's up to you guys to fill me in.
So what? I don't even do Facebook
I don't
anymore.
even
It's
know.
all him. So
I
Listen,
don't know what
I'm
I
out
did.
here for the people. I'm investigating. I'm monitoring situations.
Right, you are.
It's out here, okay? So anyways, but speaking of monitoring situations, Susan is always our top, I guess, intel to the world of markets. Because people are passionate about the markets out here. And Roger is the most passionate person I know about the markets. And but we
so
don't
much so I only have one monitor.
we don't really know what it means to be passionate about the markets. But you wake up early every day to get into the markets, right? So tell us about that. About today, for instance.
About today. Yeah, for instance.
How did that go?
Should we talk about me typing up something about the corn market and then at the same time that Donald Trump ruined what I had typed up about the corn market, my 6-year-old was yelling from the couch that she needed donuts right away. We didn't have donuts. So I think the last few weeks have probably been some of the more frustrating than I can remember of my entire career. And it's just because you can be as prepared as possible fundamentally or even knowing all of the things that have happened and transpired over a particular period of time. And then within 2 minutes, it can be turned completely upside down and absolutely irrelevant. So I guess the past several weeks, it's been humbling, just as a lovely reminder that when you think you know, you maybe don't know, but then also just a lesson in what real volatility and uncertainty can be.
Now, you think that's frustrating. This podcast isn't going to come out for like a month.
Yeah, I was thinking that as
So temper that all in there, but yeah.
The only thing out of this podcast that really doesn't need a lot of editing would be Roger's hair because he's the only one that's not wearing a hat here.
This is true.
And I mean, it's obvious. I wear hats a lot because I only have to fix the bottom half of my hair. I only need to be concerned about this part. But I mean, if I had a head of hair like that in the volume, I really feel like I would never wear a hat again.
Like
this guy brings his own shampoo to hotels. I mean, come on.
You do.
Let's be honest.
You do.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. I feel like that's possibly a fib.
No, it's not.
I had to work really hard to make sure that I didn't say a word that would get bleeped out.
Oh, feel free, please.
I don't want to test it. No, because I actually know what will happen with you guys. You will, if I say a vulgar word that needs to get bleeped out, you will put like a goat scream or something in its place.
No, look, we won't. Randy will.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Quick aside on the hats. One, I am wearing a Roth Grains hat, which is just south of town here in Harrisonville. thanks to Dennis Roth for sending the hat via Roger that I could wear on the show. So big
looks
shout out
fantastic.
to Roth Grains. And anyways, and Susan, you're wearing a hat that says "No Bull." Now, this is a Tom Brady hat, or what is that?
Oh, here comes the second point where someone will have to interject with the goat screaming.
That's all we're known about around here.
One of
Interjecting
these
goat screams.
days, maybe, I don't know. I still feel like noble agriculture is probably not quite on the radar.
Yeah. But, I was poorly executed, but I was say, go ahead and tell us about No Bull, I guess, a little bit.
Sure. So, not quite not the athletic apparel.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady, what's happened to him recently?
He's playing flag football last I saw.
What?
I know, but it's...
Why can't these people just stay retired?
I kind
It's
of
flag
meant like
football.
the plastic surgery.
Oh, he's
The
doing
things
that?
that were... Yeah, I feel like he's changed. But anyway, we're off. We're way off now. Noble is started out kind of email subscription service, and it still is, providing grain and oilseed market commentary. I talk a lot about biofuel policy, which is my least favorite thing in the world, but it turns out it's very
In demand.
important.
The people want to know.
Yes.
Love that.
It's something that you love to hate.
That's
but
Twitter.
People always ask me about it. I'm like, you should talk to Susan. She knows stuff. And Susan's like, I don't want to
it's
talk
funny
about
how
this
that
stuff.
goes.
But
Yeah.
you know about it, so you have to.
You wake up one day and you realize you're so far deep in it that you can't get back out. Yeah, so providing market intelligence for everything that would be from producer level to manage money or investors, that kind of thing. It's branched out into, I do a lot of speaking engagements and that sort of thing. So hanging out here in Kansas City to moderate an ethanol panel of all things at Bloomberg's event this week.
Awesome.
And I should congratulate you. Part of it's doing podcasts, and I should congratulate you. I know you're campaigning for votes for podcasts. Well, here we go. You're
apparently my cryptocurrency hackers on X.
I saw you bought a new house and got a new car.
Congrats.
Yes, yeah, lots of exciting things happening for me.
We don't want to get too inside baseball,
including being hacked a few times in the past.
That's what I was referring
couple
to.
months.
Yeah,
was
you just
referring
told
to
me
your-
about
yeah,
the
your
fact
pain.
that you have a physical key to get on Twitter now, which blew my mind. It's incredible.
Do. Yeah. It's amazing what you can buy on Amazon. I don't know that actually fixes the
bet it's
problem, but
100%
I am
safe.
trying to prevent.
I think Jeff Bezos and Elon were having a conference call one day, just the two of them on a conference call as they do, and they're like, we got to sell something so that we can get somebody into their Twitter account.
So this is like reverse
Physical
NFT
key.
things, right?
I don't know.
You have a real key for social media.
All right, so back on track. I'm back into my X account. So the other things that Noble does, really excited this year for AgriNext. This will be the fourth annual conference in St. Louis. It is July 27th and 28th, if you want to put that on your calendar.
Nice.
But this year it is presented in partnership with Bloomberg. So that's exciting. Bringing some of the Bloomberg intelligence team will be there to moderate along with me, which is good.
Cool.
We're doing the welcome reception this year at Anheuser-Busch. So a little private event in the
Sounds
beer
nice.
garden. We will do a little tour, see some Clydesdales.
See some horses?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Full day conference will be at Ballpark Village again, adjacent to Busch Stadium.
place is
And
great.
then it is timed for the Cards Cubs series that last week of July. So
That's
it'll be
a
a fun
big one.
game. The Cardinals will be absolutely murdered, but that's okay.
Maybe not.
I feel
Baseball,
like I
you
said
never know.
murdered, and you guys are going to be like, well, it's St. Louis.
Right.
It's fine.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
That happens
Yeah.
every night. in
I
St.
think
Louis.
it will
No
be a
difference.
good event. The other piece of Noble would be Ag Ventures. So I've gotten into international group
Yes.
trips. I just showed you guys over lunch
Unbelievable.
a terrifying video of us taking a massive luxury bus across this little teeny tiny wooden bridge, which was quite exciting. But I'll be going back the first week of August.
Are you
if
going
you
to take
guys are
the bridge
interested.
portion out of that?
I'm not certain. We will not be in an area to go
wild, dude.
across that particular bridge, but it is
my word.
Brazil, so that means that there's a particular level of excitement that you will encounter.
yes.
You never know around every corner. But this one includes oranges, coffee. We'll be there for sugarcane harvest, so we'll
Ooh,
see the actual sugar side of production and then ethanol too. Then we will go into Mato Grosso do Sul, where it's heavy cattle country, and we will be there for safrinha corn harvest. And then we end in Bonito, which is one of the most beautiful places on the
It's
planet.
right there in the word, right?
So,
Bonito.
yes, correct.
Beautiful.
So I'm excited about that one.
So Roger and I spend a lot of time on this show talking about, like, what are people worried about the markets and, who cares? And that's because we have the elevator slant where it's just always stay price neutral and who cares what happens. But obviously,
That's not the best way to.
there's a big
don't phrase it
sector.
like that.
There's a big sector of the ag economy industry that obviously it matters a whole lot to. And for those reasons, Brazil is a huge factor. So it's cool to like go see that stuff close up because if you're in that world and you're paying attention to that sort of stuff every day, Brazil's like in it every day, right? I mean, so that's kind of cool.
Hashtag agro never stops. I saw that once or twice.
Is that right?
Yeah, or 8 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the early winter, January, February of 27, I'll be doing 2 separate trips to Brazil. And then I have Argentina in early March.
Oh, nice.
Hey,
on the
Miley.
calendar too. So yeah.
Javier.
Yes.
Party in the
Javier.
USA.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of value that comes from seeing. I'm a very visual learner, and I think that's fairly obvious in the business that I've built. It's really interesting when you get to go beyond I'm reading about this to I'm actually seeing it and understanding it. Being in Mato Grosso, Brazil gives you an entirely different appreciation and understanding. In the U.S., I think the American farmer, it's always, it's Brazil, it's our enemy or whatever. And I think some people really struggle understanding why would you even want to go see that or experience it. But it's having respect for this massive, they're not going away.
Oh, no.
They're bigger, they export more than us, they produce more, whatever it may be. I think that understanding markets is about understanding your largest competitors and having respect for what they do and then trying to understand the differences because there are so many differences. There are a lot of ways that there are similarities between producers and there's so many things about their setup that's so much different. And, as we talk about today and then probably in the weeks and months ahead, as we're working through this situation in the Middle East from a transportation perspective and being competitive, the U.S. is fortunate that we have the cheapest transportation in the world. So forever, it's been the inland waterways system has provided this incredibly efficient and economical transportation mechanism for us. And that's a lot of why the U.S. and ag, we've been the dominant force that we have been. And now we have this shift underway because we have this energy price spike that let's say maybe conflict is resolved fairly soon. You still have these markets that I think will be very disjointed for a while. Those impacts of like the higher diesel prices and things, those are hitting places like Brazil much harder than they're hitting us here in the U.S. And so understanding some of those things, the drivers behind it, I think that's a lot of what helps shape your understanding of the bigger picture
Now,
markets.
What is one thing, if you had to pick one, that you would – I'm going to ask you, what is one thing about South American producer that most people in the U.S., at least even in ag, wouldn't know or appreciate?
I think what a lot of people don't realize is, Mato Grosso is 40+% of Brazil's total production. It's massive, and it's because it's an area thing that's massive. But also, those producers there, like in the 80s when the U.S. was going through a farm crisis, those were the years that Brazilian producers were actually literally just starting to kind of take root in those areas that are now the biggest production areas in the world. So it's a different setup because it's not like, in the U.S. you have a lot of century farms and things where you've had multiple generations. And in a lot of cases, you have a guy that's in his mid-60s or something that he was the first one in his family that really bought ground or established roots there. It's much different. The other thing that's, I think, probably the biggest fundamental difference is, in the U.S., it's 1% of the population or something is employed in agriculture. In Brazil, it's something like 8%. So when you look at equipment, and I'm not saying that they're not as advanced as they could possibly be, but from an automation perspective, we're a lot further ahead, but it's because we don't have as many bodies working. They have a tremendous amount of labor on the farm and then also seasonal labor that comes in. And they keep their equipment a lot longer. Equipment is not necessarily, contrary to maybe some of the things that you see on social media, equipment isn't necessarily as large or something. And so, yeah, it's just a completely different setup. So although one of my favorite pictures from this past trip in February is this producer that was 10,000, no, I don't remember what it was, but large family producer, bigger guy. He's got a John Deere hat on, smiling, he gets out his Sunday polo with his best blue jeans when we visit the farm. He has a John Deere bottle opener you can see kind of in the background, like attached to the wall. And then he's got this big Bolsonaro sticker, which is the equivalent of having a trunk bumper sticker. So things like that, are very similar, but from an operational standpoint, it's a very different setup. Plus, here in the U.S., we have relatively cheap interest compared to what they have. So their way of operating is much different. And, anytime that you're in a situation, I see it a lot here in the U.S., especially with guys, it seems like guys that have livestock, they tend to generally make better business decisions because a lot of times they're more, and you might argue with me, but I feel like they're forced into making decisions a little more regularly than some of the grain guys because you can store and ignore for all
cattle
of eternity.
And chickens die eventually.
Yes. So,
and they got to eat all the time.
I think that there's some of those things, even though, we might say today, well, 7% or 8% interest in the U.S. is horrible and we can't operate this way. Totally different story when you get in that part of the world. And so, longest answer ever.
No, it's great.
I could ramble for a while. It's really interesting when you start to look at the differences. But I think it's very important. You have to understand, no different than you have to understand how the U.S. farmer operates. You also have to understand how the Brazilian producer operates. And that's really one thing that's becoming more and more important as we move forward. It's not necessarily about a matter of, well, is it 180 million metric tons or 183? It becomes more farmer behavior and what moves those bushels and those sorts of things.
So you've had several tours now under your belt going down there. And prior to you going down there to all this in your former career, what do you see when you take folks down there for the first time? What's kind of their big, I wasn't expecting X?
Mato Grosso is it's very expansive. You are wide open. It's crazy because it can go from very, very flat to kind of rolling and things. But I think what strikes people the most is you see these massive facilities. It could be an ADM or a Bunge or an Amagi or whatever, but it's literally everything is bigger. It's kind of like the idea of in Texas and the U.S., everything is bigger. In Brazil, when you get into Mato Grosso, everything is bigger. So you just have there are a lot of moments where you're like, holy. Yeah.
Awesome.
And emus in the bean fields.
What? Really?
Yes.
Tell me more about this.
Things the things that you would.
Beans?
Yeah, it's no different
It's
than
an
how
emu,
we
of course.
see white-tailed deer. Yeah. And
Just
they can kind of be hard to spot. It's no different than you need to be
Wait, how
paying
tall are the
attention.
beans down there? I've seen an emu. They're pretty tall.
They can bend down,
They're
bro.
tall, but I don't know. It blends in. You're going down the road at however many kilometers.
How do you say emu in
I don't-
Spanish?
La
It'd be
emu.
it'd be Portuguese,
Oh, sorry,
and
yeah,
I don't
that's right.
know. I don't know if it's
God,
any
you're so xenophobic, Jason.
I
Good
thought that
grief.
was the same language, but here we go.
No, that's the other thing about visiting Brazil.
Yeah.
If you're going, I don't care if you were going to, because when you get into São Paulo, it is the largest metropolitan area in the Western Hemisphere. And you can even be in the international terminal and struggle to find someone that's speaking English.
Really?
Yes. So this is a plug for myself. Don't go by yourself. You need friends that
Wait, you don't speak other languages?
I know enough Portuguese
poquito?
to get me. Yeah. Wow. Were we supposed
Sorry.
to talk about actual topics
Listen,
today?
we've had foreign languages on this show before. We are
Someone
an
came on
international
and said
friend.
they'd ate at Fogo de Chão, the Brazilian steakhouse.
We had Kevin
Incredible.
Wilson said French words on here before, I think.
I had
Escargot? I don't know.
Maybe.
Oh, you know what? I took
Probably
I took grandma to a steakhouse a few months ago that she wanted to go to, and she wants the snails, and I'm like, okay, I'll
Did you partake?
never again.
dig
One
'em
and
out with a
done.
little fork?
One and done.
Now, you have lots, speaking of your grandma, you have lots of pictures. Y'all celebrate all kinds of things, which I think is awesome.
Well, you're supposed to.
Right.
If you make it to 86,
She
you
is
just have
Big
to keep
margarita
awesome.
fan. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She went to the gym this morning with my mom at 7. She went earlier than normal. She does we're a year in now. She goes to personal training twice a week with me.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So Noble does personal training too?
No.
I feel like you're saying it too fast.
My Noble
Sorry.
salary
Noble?
pays for personal training. Speaking of Noble, maybe you might have to bleep it out, but it's funny. So I was in Singapore. And
Sensors, the sensors ready, Randy? All right. Okay.
I'll look straight into the camera. So I was in, I did a CME event in Singapore, and then I was also at an event in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Roger,
And-
you ever been invited to that event?
I had turned
Is that
down
just-
every time.
That's just Susan.
Always
Okay. Go
a
ahead.
conflict of schedule.
So that was my first time hanging out in Southeast Asia. And so I had business cards and the whole kind of thing. And I'm talking to a lot of different traders from,
Sure.
different actual physical trading houses. And on more, oh my God, no, I can't say this.
You can, please.
Dear, I mean,
I
we've come
can't.
this far.
You guys have to. Okay, well, you'll have to figure out if this works for you or not. So there. Yeah, I should not say this. So more than once, I would hand them a business card and they would look at it and they'd see the bullhorns and stuff. And then they'd go, oh, no bullshit.
Yes, that's
Yes,
right.
that is correct. Okay, you can edit all of that out now.
And we're back.
that's
Thanks
wonderful.
to the 2 minute.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that didn't need to happen.
No,
okay.
That's called a cultural exchange, Susan.
That's what it. Yes, but I had several encounters.
You know what I hear? I hear smiles the same in every language. So,
That was the
that
cheesiest thing
going
I've
for
ever
us.
heard. That was worse than he.
hey, speaking of that, I did
Covered
have
it up
something
well.
about a corn smile that happened in America.
No, let's not talk about
and
that.
I don't know.
Wait. This is reminiscent of corn sweats, but it's a smile.
I forgot about corn. Hey, before we get into corns,
I didn't.
Since we have a soybean expert here that goes to Brazil, we had.
Sorry.
Listen up. So we had a few years back a lot of people building bean processing plants.
Yes.
Now they're built. We're mostly.
We're
Yeah,
getting there.
We're
Yes.
churning through it. So should we look at beans differently in America now versus how we did 10 years ago?
I think that's fair. This year, and it kind of depends on where. The bad thing is if we don't see China come back to buy
Well, yeah.
additional beans in the 25-26 marketing year. Yeah, this year is projected to be the first year in effectively 2 decades that we see 60% of U.S. bean demand domestic for crush and only 40% export.
Yeah.
So, and, the past 5 years or so, it's been a combination of things. So it's not only you have Brazil getting larger or producing more in that, that relationship with China. You also have the increase in U.S. domestic crush capacity, which is influential. So anytime that you have more demand here domestically, it naturally kind of raises whatever the export bid would have to be because you're competing. And then the other thing that I think has to be considered is we're in our 4th year in a row of historically low water conditions on the inland waterway system. So those things all in combination, any day of the week, someone can be like, oh, well, it's crush or it's Brazil's size. It's a little more complicated than that because these things all kind of stack.
Right.
It's a big deal for the U.S., especially when you look at a state like North Dakota, who previously didn't have any crushing capacity. Now you have 2 crush plants that are crushing 90, nearly 100 million bushels a year. That's 50% effectively of North Dakota's bean crop in any given year. That's a big change. And especially in a year like this, really big change.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the P&W.
Right. Where
export
else would the
demand.
beans have went if that wasn't
Yeah.
there? So.
And I still am a very firm believer that one of the reasons that U.S. P&W has stayed so competitive in Asia is a combination of the fact we had no bean program. So you had discounted rail freight and you have open capacity. What's your job as an elevator? It doesn't matter if you're an exporter or if you are a country elevator. Your job is to have bushels, ship bushels. Otherwise, you're not making money. And the other piece of that is a really big crop that came out of that part of the world this year too, which I still think that they'll go. We could argue this here, but I feel like a farmer has a memory and the last really good crop sticks in their mind. So if corn treated them well last year and spring wheat is just sucking air,
Right.
that's where my mind is today.
Nice. So, okay. I referenced before, probably poorly, because that's what I do.
Yes.
Roger and I are like, prices, who really cares on the commercial side. But obviously,
you love saying that.
Hey, listen.
Hey, he's got a shtick. He's got to stick with it. Stick with the
It's
shtick.
called a brand, all right? But anyways, no, we
like Marriott.
because like the white commercial thing is like, this is noise and this is not. But there's noise and there's information, right? And I guess, 30 years ago, it was like who could get the best information kind of had an advantage. Now everybody gets all the information. It's who can filter out to get to the right information.
Too much information,
right? Which is what you kind of do, and I think with all the stuff you put out. Yeah.
Try to do.
And the other thing you do is that I think is good, because of your background, you have a commercial, like a country elevator, a big grain trading background. Like you understand that side of it as well, not just hey, this is going to affect the markets, the price markets. And I know you're passionate about the markets, as we all are, but especially Roger. And anyways, all that said, and how things have shifted in the beans with like domestic crush and then the disruptions on export and everything. How do you see that? Obviously, there's obvious ramifications on the price side, but on the basis side. So I would say, like when we approach basis as just, strict basis traders on the commercial grain elevator side is like, hey, basis gets low at harvest time. I think that's still a thing. So that's good, right? We buy it at harvest basis. And usually with beans, it's a 30 to 60 day deal, and then basis recovers probably around like just about wherever you are, late November-ish. There's a pretty strong basis just about anywhere because of the costs of carrying beans. Even if there's carry in the market, it doesn't really pay you to keep carrying it past that. So that's been the traditional like.
Didn't you have something in your
Buy it.
notebook about this? When it doesn't pay
Did
to
you
store?
look at those notebooks?
Or
Of
wait,
course
what was
Listen, I'll
the-
get to
something in
that.
there
We got
about
time.
that.
Okay, but anyway, my point is, with all this shift in how we're doing things, how beans are flowing these days in America, do you foresee that any difference there? And especially with Brazil coming on, it's almost like we get new crop again in like the
We
spring.
do
So
get new crop again in the spring.
right, like the spreads
But
get
that's
flat and then they
nothing
go to
new.
big carries.
That's been, I mean, when I started
Yeah, but
out,
they're
it was
getting bigger
don't
and
fall in love
bigger.
with your beans, have them sold by Valentine's
So
Day.
my
Yeah.
point is, do you see
Well,
anything different than
we have
basis
more?
wise?
Yeah, it kind of, and like this year, we're set up to have an interesting run here. So when you look at the crush capacity that we've added, and we're saying this, right before we're getting into April maintenance downtimes, like we've seen strength in the meal market recently because I think everyone's a little nervous that we have these maintenance down times that are coming on and we're going to have this tightness that's going to last for a while. Yeah, it's different because when you have exports, you're talking very heavy octave Ds, Jan, and then doesn't really matter after that. But when you're crushing, especially when you have a new asset or an expanded asset, you want to use it. And so I think, it does. It changes flow and it changes the dynamics of things where the U.S. needs more bushels around in those spring and summer months compared to what we used to need,
Right.
because we're crushing 20% more beans. Or
So if you
whatever the
need it
number is.
around, is that going to be given by the price or by the basis? Like, it's going
I
to
just
be
let
so
out the
hard
loudest sigh. Yeah,
for an elevator to like power through and carry beans a long time because it's just so expensive.
yeah, it's
Hey, July hit like 50 cents at one point last fall.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, there's going to be so many beans as well that guys don't buy at harvest time and they're on storage and buy
Not
later
this
in the year.
They're all
Well,
gone now.
So I mean, but
well, you and you have crushers that are they're taking big healthy crush margins, and they're also very actively adding space because when you build a new plant or when you're expanding capacity, you're not just aiming for what are my margins here. You're aiming to take advantage of a
Later on.
situation
Right.
later on, yes, especially when you have continued strength and demand from a product perspective.
Would you be comfortable building a crush plant in the South or in the Delta if things change that much?
So I think the bigger thing is that once something is legislated, we have to keep legislating it. So assuming that we see some high numbers here for 27 and 28, do you want to build a crush plant that probably wouldn't start construction until
Nope.
let's just say 29 or whatever, And it also goes back to like 45Z. We've extended that through the end of 2029. That's fine. But today we're
How far ahead you got to
we're
be?
quickly closing in on one half of 26 being done. So then what? Then where do you go? Biofuels aren't going away. And the more that the more that we push forward with policy that supports them, which I understand why we're pushing that direction. And it's almost to the point with Brazil doing what it's doing that we have to be there. But yeah, I think it's a challenge because not only, and especially in this type of environment, we're sitting here waiting for some sort of decision. We're also looking at interest rates aren't what they were in 2021. And, there are a lot of other things to consider. So when we first had that big push or that big rush of announcements and such, we had really low interest rates.
Right.
It didn't
Right.
matter that much anyway, and it matters a lot more today.
Does it seem like some of this is a policy question or a thought, I guess?
These are my favorite things.
I know. That's why I'm asking. I knew you came here
We got
for
the
that.
expert.
You told us that at lunch.
I need to just carry a mug around. I love biofuel policy.
Well, this is just general ag policy. The Farm Bill keeps getting kicked down the road every year or every time it's talked about, right? We just keep extending, continuing resolution or whatever the terms are. Is this kind of policy the new way to legislate Farm Bill things? in a roundabout manner because it's less transactional costs in Congress?
Well, I mean, I think from the perspective of EPA and what they're set to do here with the renewable fuel standard obligate mandate for 27 and 28, this is definitely more of EPA setting to correct the course, because really what happened is they grossly underestimated the way that California would expand, or the way that anyone would expand renewable diesel production. It was really Arnold Schwarzenegger and the low carbon fuel standard that set all of it off. But that's really what made the difference and why we were out producing the mandate by a mile or two or five. So that's really the biggest change that kind of comes out of this. Also, you have an administration that is determined to show his undying support for rural America. And you can even think all the way back to the tweet that he did. It was the Commodity Classic of 2025. I can remember walking around.
Hey, I was there. The golden
And-
tractor.
Yes, that is correct. And he said, and this was in the middle of when he was starting to pick fights with every major trading partner. This was before the Liberation Day, and we were putting tariffs on the penguins and such. But he said, get ready to sell as, a lot of product inside, and he capitalized inside the U.S. So with that being said, this is great. And this administration is definitely, although it doesn't feel like it a lot of days, they are behind the farmer. It's just getting to that.
I understand what you're saying when you say he's behind the farmer. I understand what you're saying.
But then let's also, although it feels like it is 18 years away that he won't be in office, one of these days he won't be in office. So then we're the end of March 2026. So he's been in office 12, 13, 14-ish months.
When did he come down the escalator? I mean, that's when it all started. Am I right?
I've aged a good 20 years since he was inaugurated. Just because it's no different than this morning. We think we're headed one direction, and then you get one Truth Social post, and here we go the complete opposite way.
It's really something.
And I was convinced on my drive from, St. Louis, this area, to Kansas City that we would be in and out of World War III 4 times by the time I actually got here today. Right. So it's really challenging because I don't know.
So this is the thing, Roger and I are big proponents of farmers. I don't know, we're not good enough at even trying to keep up with the information. So we're just put in targets, and maybe something will tweet weird, and we'll get it. And
weird.
the other, last week, we're limit down.
A couple weeks ago, when Sunday night everything went up and hit, and then
everything goes up, everything goes down. Really,
got to get up to get down. That was in a song once.
That's right, but you feel like, oh my gosh, this is going bonkers one way, then it's bonkers the other. And then you look overall, I don't know, I guess we did have a big up day. We had a big down. We're about where we were in the end.
But it's good. You need stuff to happen. It gets people excited. They take action when
that's
stuff's
what I'm saying.
moving.
The volatility
when we had
opportunity.
that huge overnight run up, because I think that was one Sunday night, and then it was the next one where it was elevator down. But we really had an elevator up moment. Normally you don't have that. But that's the value of having something out there. But just the same as we had, it felt like the end of the world when we had that limit down day. But common sense says we're not going to be limit down forever, because the same magnitude of headline will the exact opposite is going to come out tomorrow, and then maybe the opposite after that, and then eventually we're going to find a place.
Because you do some one-on-one advising with farmers, or at least you used to. Have you cut that out? You still do it occasionally?
I still
have some old
do
relationships.
I feel that the conversations get more and more colorful with each passing week. Actually, it's like therapy sessions, and I don't know who it's therapy for. Me or them.
Especially
some days two-way therapy.
Yes.
Well, as your business has grown, it's less and less of a percentage of what you need. So you're brutally honest with people. I don't think that's ever been a problem for you, honestly.
I think it's really important, though, to take, which the producers that I'm thankfully, the ones I've never had to fire a customer. They've kind of gone away on their own, which has been a good thing. But I think it's important for me to keep having those conversations because it's a reality check and a sanity check for me too. Because it's so funny because when you get into these days where I'm like, how did I end up in this spot where I'm trying to tell other people what to do and I don't even know what's going on? But when I get the most nervous about situations, I always revert back to the very basics, the things that I learned at the country elevator when I'm reading my white commercial things. Look at that, full circle.
There you go.
Art of Great Merchandising.
I wasn't just trying to suck up. But it really is when you get into these points where you feel like you're a fish out of water, you don't know what you're doing, or the uncertainty is so loud, the screaming so loud, you have no idea. It goes back to, well, okay, my last sale was 50 cents ago. Why am I not selling something today?
Exactly, right.
Or, you can walk through these things a million ways in your mind. And I do think that that's a lot of why, from a producer perspective, I enjoy still having producer clients because we can have those conversations and I can say, Kevin, you haven't sold anything in 3 weeks and we are X higher than we were the last time. This makes sense.
Like you said, that's good therapy for you too, because, otherwise you might end up, find yourself on a Southwest flight with a therapy cat.
Yes.
And I don't know what that would
Or
be
a
like,
barking
but I assume it
Pomeranian.
would not be good.
No. Being able to have real conversations with producers it becomes invaluable. I think it doesn't matter if you're sitting in a country elevator or if you are getting ready to take the stage wherever. At the end of the day, it's the pulse of the farmer that matters and can make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
So,
we got the customer in Georgia that says he can't make money off of broke farmers.
No, he says you can't milk a skinny cow fat.
Okay, that also.
But that's what it means.
But yeah, you can't make money.
He's
off
absolutely right.
If the farmer's not doing well, making money, none of us are going to be doing well.
Right.
So it starts there. So okay, along those lines, we got a lot of farmers listen, but also grain folks listen to our podcast. We hope more, but I don't know.
I don't think the math works out in that
for
favor.
the young grain originator that maybe listens to this occasionally, right now they're seeing all this weird stuff going on. Well, what should they be talking, like your conversations you have with direct farmers, like what should they be doing to kind of help their farmers through this weird noise, volatility stuff and focus on the right things, or like what should they be doing? What should they think about?
yeah, it seems like such an easy out, but I can remember back to the days I didn't know anything about what I was talking about.
We're
I
still
would
there.
always revert back to, well, what's your cost of production? Well, as soon as I'd say that, generally the producer would be quiet because most of the time they can't tell you anyway.
Right.
I think you have to frame it like, okay, well, this is a business decision. And sometimes it can help you tee it up when you say, well, when did you sell last, or something along those lines. As odd as it sounds, I feel like it takes a very confident individual to be able to say, I don't know.
Right, it does.
What's
Absolutely
going to happen.
does. People are afraid to say that, even though that's the right answer.
I think, and that's a lot of why I like to do Hardy's USDA report webinar for his group, because the point that I make throughout that is you can't predict what you can't predict.
Right.
So I feel like a lot of people have that pressure, especially as we head into the next few reports that will have acres, because people are going to feel like we should know. Well, my argument is, what was our starting point before we maybe had a fertilizer thing?
Exactly.
Because I could argue that we should maybe have more corn acres. And then it looks like we're going to patch it up with China. And so, okay, maybe there's a resurgence in beans. And now we have crappy cotton prices and rice prices. And, well, there's maybe a few more beans. And then here comes the fertilizer conundrum. And I don't know.
And then how old's the data that went into the survey?
Roger and I see that. So
Yes, that's the thing.
Right,
yeah.
And to top it all off, how many extra acres of corn did we manage to find here over the past however many reports?
As much as they need to,
You
is what
tell
I've been
me
told.
where we're going to be and how accurate we're
Yeah.
going to be, because I don't have a clue.
And Roger and I have to deal with this a lot because we're technically brokers, but obviously we told you our thing where you're like, prices don't matter.
You're the
and
oddest
all that.
brokers
It's
I've
weird.
ever met.
But since we
You have
are,
the best hair, though. I know a lot of bald brokers.
but
Yeah,
people call us and they're like,
that's-
"What's the
that's
report?
a
What's the
solid.
market going to do tomorrow with the report?" And we're like, "Have you ever listened to us, talked to us before?" And we're like, "We don't
This
know."
might
But
be the
people
easiest-
think like you should
Yeah.
have an idea. And okay,
And
my
they
thing
make
is,
you feel dumb for not having one.
my thing is, if I was very confident and felt like I knew and told you,
If you
what
were,
are you going to
if
do
you
with
were
that?
a real broker,
Yeah, well,
I just want to
I
say,
know. Hey.
do you want to like
I've
lay out
seen
the
he doesn't
risk?
Hey,
even
touche.
have a
That's
Wait,
fine.
timestamp
what was
in
the
his
risk?
office.
What was the
It's true, I got rid of
disclaimer?
it.
You wrote down the disclaimer earlier.
Somebody at a conference I had been to said, "Hang on, I want to quote it here. I don't want to get it wrong."
I know. Get to-
Past performance does not indicate future results, in my opinion. Somebody said that. That was one of the best quotes I've heard.
You know,
at
that's so
all
good.
my
I might start putting it
conferences.
at the bottom of my emails. That's really good.
But
I hope that was worth $75 a contract or
listen,
whatever they're
my my point is, like,
Per side.
why? Even if we knew, even if Roger and I knew what was going to say, and we
I'm not
had a
gonna tell
really strong
anybody.
opinion,
I'm not gonna tell anybody.
Well, maybe, but
I'm not
we
that
could still
nice.
be wrong if we were very confident that a lot of people are confidently wrong. And what are you going to do with that
Lots.
information? Are you going to turn around and say, tell all your farmers the market's going down tomorrow, we better sell today? What if it doesn't go down and, everybody's mad at you? You're not going to, my point is, you're not going to do anything with the, even if we were real confident and had some opinion, you're not going to do anything with it. But that's neither here nor there. For the sake of time, though, Susan, and in honor of you being our grain market discussion Facebook group aficionado, I do have a few things I wanted to share. And I will open it up since you
Here's
are an
the
expert,
gotcha.
but also Roger is an expert. So I want to open it up to both of you guys because you guys are always setting me straight on some of this
I'm
stuff.
so jealous. They keep seeing this hair.
Just quick, this is our lightning round. Yeah, with that hair, he's got to have some answers. So
It
here
doesn't
we
matter
go.
what I say with this hair.
All right. First of all, these are things I've overheard. I've been at several conferences over the last month or two.
Is this like quick hits?
Yes, lightning round here. Okay. These
have sound
are
effects?
questions I've heard. Maybe these are questions I've heard asked of experts by farmers and people in the industry over the years. Is there going to be a squeeze play this summer?
I think Roger should answer this one.
Which baseball game are we talking about?
What is this?
World
squeeze-
Baseball Classic is over, so it can't
So
be
no
that.
we
more
were
squeeze
talking about
plays.
this earlier at lunch. What did I say? And you were like, wait, that's a squeeze play. Oh, if we were getting down to carry out stocks. On
Yeah, when we
beans.
would get squeezed on beans, and I
Look,
think maybe that's a squeeze
Does China come back and buy?
squeeze play. Is that a
Look,
safety squeeze, suicide
I've
squeeze?
read the
What do we got?
history on the Board of Trade, and back in the day, old Hutch,
Yeah?
he put people in a squeeze because he bought all the wheat in Chicago and bought all the futures contracts. So when it came time people get out, he made them pay whatever it was. That was called a squeeze. Also
then-
a cornered market.
And then he made so much money, he made those cabinets you put your plates in.
That's it. Old
And
Hutch.
how does the FTC feel about that now?
Well, those guys didn't exist back then.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about the CFTC.
CFTC, yes.
Okay.
Can next question?
Next question. I've heard, has been overheard publicly on a microphone at a conference. China plays the board too. I mean, that was just an aside as part of another. First,
Look,
this is something we all know.
I
China
can
also
validate
plays the
this
board.
because I also have played Risk, and you can beat China on that game, and
You
you're
play
on a
the
board.
board? Touche.
Done.
I'm going with.
You went to Asia. You were telling us about it earlier. That's China to me. So you were
I
in
thought-
China.
And again,
When-
the xenophobia.
When you were there, did you
surfaces.
play the board?
I'm pretty sure they edited that portion out. I hope they did. They're going to
Okay.
edit this portion out too.
They don't edit. When I embarrass myself, they do not edit that.
This would have
It's-
been way more
that's not
entertaining
what
with
we
a
do.
pitcher of beer. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. And finally,
Next time.
Now this is a serious question. This is
Why's your hand
this,
in the air?
This comes from. I mean, it's spiritual.
he's under
almost.
oath.
And This comes
Come on,
from a
everyone.
He
place.
has the spirit.
This comes from deep in the heart. And here's what we want to know. Right now, with all we've seen so far this year.
I just want to know, is Roth Crane's going to be glad that you're
Listen,
wearing their
they
hat
don't-
today?
Nope.
They don't
Sorry.
whatever, support anything I say. But seriously, with everything that's happened this year, I just want to get
Okay.
serious with you
I'm
guys.
ready.
Just for a minute. Can we be serious for a minute?
Yes.
Nope.
All right. Let's talk about the markets, okay? Something we care about all here. Is the market acting like it's supposed to right now?
Well, here's what I'd say about that. Sometimes I think it is acting up, but then there's other days I think it's acting down. Susan?
I don't know how I can follow the worst dad joke in the world. It's acting as one would expect when we're in the middle of trade war, real war.
Tweet war?
Yeah, I mean, it's a headline war. I don't know
Yeah.
what else. Until we have that incredible summer rally that's weather related, I don't
That
really
one
know.
county in Iowa is bound to burn up this year.
Well,
Rally
we
times.
always have to kill the crop at least once, right?
Exactly. Unless it's wheat, then we kill it 4 times. So
Yes, that's what we've been doing to Kansas City wheat recently.
I don't have an answer to that question, unfortunately, especially not as good a one as you guys just laid out of if the market's acting like it's supposed to. But I think about where that comes from. If someone asked that, what do we want the answer to? Do we want the answer to be no so that we could start a petition
What do
to
they want?
defund?
The
We should
question is-
defund the markets because they're not acting like they're supposed to. Is that
Why
what
would someone ask that question?
how does one defund the
Listen.
market?
you got to? And there'll be lines at the pit.
I was going to say, is this like
dump pit?
I feel
What
like
are we
this is
talking about?
we have a
It could
tea.
be.
Send in ice.
I
That's
mean,
the only solution.
that'll fix
right?
it. Okay.
They will fix it.
There's so much editing that's going to have to happen
There's
this
going to be
time.
zero
Okay,
editing.
listen. I just want to say, on behalf of Roger, since he's not going to say it, I appreciate you coming out. And we like having guests on this show, and you're a great one. I appreciate all the knowledge you shared and the fun we had along the way. The journey is as good as a destination
Are
sometimes.
we done already?
We're pretty much there.
Were there actual topics though that we
Yeah. No,
absolutely not.
important things to?
Wait, see, that's where the word important has no place here.
Do I get one of these?
You can have one, absolutely. So I want to say, if for my camera, we have Elevator Cut podcast hats, and again, we're not selling these because we're worried about the tax man. But they're here. Susan might wear one
We
day.
have one
if
left.
she wants. There's one. There's at least
Well,
one left.
I'll put mine on if you don't want to mess up your.
No, I can't. It's
No, you don't have to put it on that. But
you can.
I feel like
we
I should.
appreciate everybody
Look at that.
listening. We appreciate Susan coming in. It's been a great show. Lots of great stuff along the way. And yeah, thanks. Roger, final
thanks
words
for
of
coming out.
wisdom.
So you drove all the way across Missouri,
I
across
did.
unspeakable sights on I-70 on the way over here. Thank you for
There's-
making the trek
Yeah,
here.
there's never a dull moment because there's always something happening with a semi that requires 8 wreckers. So
Could have been worse. You could have been on Southwest. So,
next to a cat, yes, that is true.
all right. Well, thanks
guys.
again for everything, and we'll catch you guys next time.
And now they blur us out, so we just act like we're big
then
hand gestures and stuff. And
Oh.
I
because
yell
we're
like
the
to
blur.
sign at the bottom.
Okay,
to
yeah.
say that,
So
man, I address those topics.
let's talk about all the things that should be cut out of this episode.
If you can remember that, you got a heck of a memory.
As always, thanks for downloading and listening. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with folks you know in the business.
And if you'd like to reach out anytime about anything at all or have any show ideas, you can always find us on Twitter at ElevatorsCut. Follow us there, tweet at us, DM us, and we'll always respond.
Till next time, for Roger, I'm Jason.
For Jason, I'm Roger.
Thanks for listening to the Elevators Cut.
Oh.